Hey there, superstars! Welcome to FNAF Merch Plus, your source for everything Five Nights at Freddy's. My name is Mikey, and in today's video, I would like to discuss the Fazbear Frights books. If you happen to enjoy this video, be sure to like it as it helps me out a lot and lets me know that you want to see more stuff like this. Also subscribe if you'd like to see more FNAF stuff. Now, let's get into the video. I want to start off by explaining what these books are. For anyone who doesn't know, Fazbear Frights is a series of books based in the FNAF universe. Each of the 12 books features 3 stories, making for 36 total stories in the series. These things vary quite greatly on how good they are, but generally they're pretty alright. They also vary on how related they really are to FNAF. For example, Bunny Call has almost nothing to do with Five Nights at Freddy's and can stand on its own as a pretty decent story. Overall, these books are a fun part of the series, but why am I talking about them today? Well, I believe that these books are often overlooked. Not within the lore. These things are super important to the lore, almost too much so. No, I think that these books are a super underrated tool for introducing people to the world of Five Nights at Freddy's. What do I mean by that? Let me explain. Think about the first time you played a FNAF game. Actually, think about the first time you played any video game. Did you have any idea what you were doing? Did you know how to play the game at all? The answer to both of those is almost certainly no. Now, I want you to think about someone who discovers Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time in 2024. The game that they're most likely going to try first is whatever the newest release is at the time. The problem with this for newcomers is that a lot of the newer games are far more advanced than the older games. This can be rather unwelcoming to new fans interested in playing these games. Take Help on It 2 as an example. This game is huge, with many different minigames and modes in it. It also features a wide mix of characters from across the entire series. This game is amazing, sure, but to a new player, it's just straight up confusing. Combine that with the story of the game. If you don't know anything about the other 14 entries in the series, the story of Help on It 2 and many of these games makes basically no sense. What I'm saying is that these games have gotten so big, it's hard to introduce new people to them without confusing them. So, what's the solution? Ending the current story and starting a new one, obviously. That probably won't happen though. So the next best thing is the Fazbear Frights books. Now, if you know much of anything about these books, you probably think my point here is rather dumb. After all, these books haunt the minds of theorists, with many things about them being confusing or still unsolved, and the canonicity of them still being questioned to this day. While this is all true, I want you to take a step back and again look at these books from the perspective of a new fan to the series. This gives you a whole new view of these short stories. Let's do a thought experiment of sorts. This is Alex. Alex has just discovered Five Nights at Freddy's for the first time. His friend talked him into getting Help on It 2 to try out a game from the series. Alex takes his $40 and buys the game, downloads it, and excitedly launches it. He's greeted with many options, almost too many. It's a little overwhelming, but he picks one and plays it. It's fun, but he doesn't really know what's happening. Why am I doing makeup on an animatronic? Now I'm serving food to robots? Now I'm playing a game called Fazbear Blast in the middle of some weird field? You get the idea. It's a lot for Alex because he really doesn't understand what any of this is. He plays through the game, eventually getting to the endings. First he sees this one, then he figures out how to get this one. What just happened? He thinks to himself. While he had a bit of fun, Alex mostly just ends up confused by all the things going on in this game. He is not interested enough to investigate the series more, and FNAF misses out on a new fan. Now, I want to tell a real story that happened in real life to me. My mom noticed that I started collecting FNAF stuff and wondered what it was. As I got more stuff, I was trying to find a good way to introduce her to the series without making it overwhelming. She's never been super into games and has trouble playing them, so any of the games, even the simple ones, were out of the picture. Then I bought the Fazbear Frights books. It took me a few months to actually start reading these, but once I did, I really enjoyed them. Then I gave one to her to read, specifically Into the Pit. She, surprisingly, enjoys it quite a bit and ends up reading all the stories in that book. She ended up wanting to read more, so I let her read the Silver Eyes novel, and after that, she really became interested in the series and is still to this day. Into the Pit, the book, led to a new fan for Five Nights at Freddy's. My point to all of this is that people really tend to overlook these books as an entry point to the series, when they're actually a pretty good start. They help to introduce you to some of the characters and concepts of Five Nights at Freddy's, while not immediately overdoing the lore. For a newcomer, Into the Pit or Count the Ways, or really any of these stories are just a fun little showing into what FNAF can be. Most of these stories can fully stand on their own on a first read. Then later, you can connect them to other parts of the series once you dive deeper into the lore of FNAF. This short story format is perfect for introducing people to the series, plus they're very accessible to most people, unlike the games. You don't need to know how to use a controller, you don't need to have ever played a PC game before, you just need $8 and a little bit of time to read it. If you have anyone you want to show FNAF to and eventually make them a fan, don't start with the games, start with the Fazbear Frights books. This was just my story, and I'm not claiming that this will happen to everyone, but it's just something to think about. I think that FNAF needs to be more approachable for new fans in general, and I have more to say on the topic. You can think of this video as a part 1 of sorts. I have another video in the works talking about why the current story of Five Nights at Freddy's needs to end, and what that would entail for the series, which will be out in a few weeks. This was a fun little video to make, and I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to like the video and subscribe if you want to see more. I also would like to hear any video ideas you would like to see in the comments below, and I may use them for future videos. This has been